The One show is the only show in town this week in Kuala Lumpur, and with a very early start time on Friday morning. Stevie, you're gonna have coffee on standby, is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'll be up before 6 a.m. so I can get down a cup of coffee from the Keurig and watch these fights, 'cause my man Bear, he's got me doing some write-ups for them, and I'll be covering at least 3 fights on this card. I don't know which 3 yet, but we'll talk about a bunch of the fights on the main card, and hopefully I get a couple of those.
Now, the main event, why should the casual fans be interested in this fight?
Marat Gafarov and Martin Nguyen. Gafarov is the undefeated champion of the weight class, and he's won 6 fights in 1 by way of rear naked choke. So you don't want to go to the ground with this guy. He's kind of a beast in that respect. But Martin Nguyen shouldn't be overlooked, even though he's not the champion. He's 8-1 coming into the fight. He's got highlight reel knockouts. His only blemish on his record is the last time he fought Gafarov, which only went 41 seconds. So he's out for revenge here in a rematch. You've got that, and you've got the title on the line. So I think for both of those reasons, you would want to tune in to see if he can overcome the odds and beat Gafarov on his second try. And one thing to keep in mind with One Championship fights, as well as all fights in the One promotion, when it goes to the judges, it doesn't. They score the whole fight. They don't score individual rounds. So even if you had a situation where if you were scoring by rounds, then you might say Gafarov won 3 rounds to 2 or something. If Nguyen went out there and had a great 5th round and just beat the crap out of Gafarov, he could still end up being declared the winner of the overall fight.
In Pride, we saw that. And there are certain fights in UFC where we know who won the fight, but because of the 10-point must system, the other guy, wins 2 of the 3, even though he looks like he's been through a train wreck, but all the damage was in 1 round.
Exactly. So this is your chance to, I wouldn't call it quite Pride rules or Pride scoring, but if you do like the who did better as opposed to who won rounds, then you do get a chance at that with One Championship. They offer that to you.
Alright, what about the co-main?
Well, that's a 170-pound fight between Ev Ting and Nobutatsu Suzuki. Suzuki has been out of competition for almost 3 years now, since he lost to Ben Askren, who, as we both know, is still undefeated and is a champion in One. So he's looking for, basically to get back on a comeback trail and hopefully work his way back up to challenging Askren again if somebody else doesn't beat him to it. And Suzuki, he's got a karate style that's, you could say, a little bit similar to Lyoto Machida's, so unorthodox, and opponents have a hard time preparing for it. Whereas Ev Ting is a more well-rounded fighter, and he basically will go in there and put his record on the line of 13-4 to see if he can jump into getting into competition, but he needs a win because his last time out at Kings of Destiny, he lost to Edward Foliong, so he's not going to get in contention unless he puts a win and a few more together. So for Suzuki, it's a chance to show that after a few years off, he's still the man, and Ev Ting to show that in that few years off, he has succeeded in surpassing the man.
Okay, so we've talked about the main and the co-main. If you had to place a wager on what the third fight you're going to be covering is, what would it be?
I'll suspect that it could be Agalantani and Sheriff Muhammad at light heavyweight. That's an interesting fight because, once again, the name Ben Askren comes up here. Agalantani's only loss on his record is to Ben Askren, and he's a grappler and a takedown guy, so he'll try to put Sharif Muhammad on his back and pound on him, but I don't know if Sharif Muhammad's going to let him play that game because this is a guy with 4 knockouts and 4 submissions, so if you go to the ground with him, there's a chance you're in trouble, and if you stay standing with him, there's a chance you're in trouble. But right now, Sharif Muhammad's coming off a loss at One Championship Quest for Power back in January, so he's another fighter looking to rebound. And Tani, his loss to Ben Askren came at Dynasty of Heroes earlier this year, so somebody's gotta get back on the winning track, and I don't know which one of these guys it is, but it'll be fun to find out.
Sometimes I miss these cool names for shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opposite effect of Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, I will give I will give them credit that they have show titles like Quest for Glory and Quest for Greatness and Kings and Conquerors. They really put some style and panache into naming their events.
Hey, I like it. I mean, I wish that, more, fight fans watch the one show. I find the action is a little faster. So if you're a fan of that, like when you watch pro wrestling, for example, you have the technical wrestling, and then you have the more, not sports entertainment, but you have a different style altogether, like WWE style, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. If you watch New Japan, that's a totally different show entirely. But a one show, see, I'm saying one show, I'm getting there. Mm-hmm. The one show it's like watching, Mighty Mouse. It's watching the speedsters. It's watching exciting fights if you're not fighting Ben Askren. You know what I mean? It's something like that. I had to get one Askren joke in there. But I like the product, and I wish their time zones didn't mean it was 6 a.m. my time.
I hear you. It's not always easy for me to do, but I have an incentive to do it, and because I have an incentive to do it, I've gotten more into these one shows with each one that I watch. They have a very good combination of fighters from the Asian Pacific Rim that you don't necessarily see in the United States, and then they bring in guys from Japan and the US that you might know and maybe haven't seen for a little while, and then they bring in some guys that Dana White wouldn't sign in a million years, but they're damn good, and Dana White's just got an axe to grind and doesn't like them, so it's a nice mix of talent that they put together.
I'm excited for the show. I'm glad, I'm sure you'll send me results afterwards, but yeah, I might actually, if I'm lucky enough to catch a Facebook prelim here or there, and maybe I'll be able to get the show by other means later on in the day.
Well, definitely go out of your way to find some way to catch the Gafurov and Martin Wynn fight, because I think that one's going to be fireworks, given they have history with each other and the titles on the line, and Gafurov's undefeated. So that'll be a hell of a featherweight main event.
Absolutely. Now, is there any other fights on this show that are piquing your interest, so to speak?
I would say there are a couple others on the main card that I think have some potential. I would definitely encourage people to tune in for Kevin Bellingham and Reese McLaren. That's an interesting mixture of styles. You have Bellingham, who has 15 wins, 5 losses, 6 of his wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 6 by decision. So he's got a very diversified portfolio. He's got a 2-fight win streak going right now against Mulin Gafurov and Tony Taru. So a 3rd straight win could be really good news for him. Reese McLaren, 9-4 overall, hails from Queensland, Australia. He's got 2 knockouts and 5 submissions. Lost his last fight in December of last year to their champion Bibiano Fernandez, so if he's going to get into title contention, he needs to beat a guy like Bellingham that's on a win streak. So I feel like that's sort of a formula here with one, is they match guys up where one guy could get back on track and the other guy could really vault ahead on the championship ladder. They do a good job of matching these guys up in fights that are meaningful for their respective careers. And last but not least on the main card, I'll talk about Gianni Suba, who will be going against Riku Shibuya. And Suba is 8-2, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, 3 decisions. So another fairly well-rounded fighter. He's coming off a win over Yago Brian Farias de Moraes at One Championship Unbreakable Warriors. And his opponent Shibuya, 13-3-2. He's got 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, 7 decisions, 2-fight win streak over Eugene Takero and Roy DeLiguez. So a 3rd win could very well put him into contention at flyweight. We'll just have to see.
I like when a well-rounded fighter has a decent record, and you know it's those fights that are so unpredictable because okay, you know that I'm not going to get knocked out. I'm going to take him to the ground. Oh crap, he can submit me too. What do I do next? Tap.
Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of situations where you get lightning quick submissions in one because guys that are super dominant on the ground, that if they get a guy right away, he'll know he's screwed and not try to fight it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said before, I'm looking forward to the show, and Stevie, absolutely check out the report. Where can people find the results for your report?
I would say go to the official 1FC.com website and then look for their news coverage at various outlets because what I do actually gets shopped around to several different websites that cover MMA. So I turn in my stories to my editor for 1FC and then he submits them to whichever one he wants them to run it. So my work could literally end up anywhere, but it will be linked from 1FC to wherever it is.
Now, will you be doing a YouTube video as well?
I don't think I'll be doing a YouTube video when I have to get up at 5 in the morning, so I would not be camera ready.
No. I was just making just ribbing you there. What's on tap for Thursday Night AMP this week?
Obviously, we've got SummerSlam on Sunday, so that's going to be the chief focus of our discussion, but we may delve a little bit more into the fallout from the G1 Climax and where they're going with that come Wrestle Kingdom in January, because we've got a little time off now between the Climax and Wrestle Kingdom to speculate on what they do next.
Mm-hmm. And, obviously thoughts and prayers are with the Nature Boy right now, Ric Flair, who is currently, as of this recording, is still in critical condition in an Atlanta hospital battling several health issues all at once.
Yeah, he had colon surgery, but the colon problems also led to kidney failure, so he's on dialysis for that, and it's all touch and go right now, whether he can get all his organs back in working order, but he's under the best care he possibly could be, and all of his family is there by his side, so he'll keep fighting.
And you know that if anything happens, good or bad, Angry Marks will have it on the webpage.
Let's hope for good as opposed to bad, but I can't say anything because we've lost so many fighters and wrestlers in the last 10 to 15 years of my life that I know that dark day is going to come every now and then, and I just have to be prepared and cover it when it comes.
It's funny, and we're going to end on this thought, Stevie, but we've talked in the past about wrestlers who could have gone into mixed martial arts instead. Do you think Ric Flair would have fallen into that category?
No, I respectfully submit not, because not to take anything away from the greatness of possibly the greatest living wrestler, many would argue he is, but his was very much sports entertainment wrestling, not shoot style, catch as catch can, or Greco-Roman wrestling. He was a technician of sports entertaining before there was even a term sports entertainment. The fact that he could do all these crazy bumps to the outside off of somebody going at him and then get back up and start strutting his stuff like nothing ever happened, that was the cocky, walky Ric Flair, the kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing, jet-flying, limousine-riding son of a gun. The whole shtick with Ric Flair was what made him great, not just his ability to do moves, because he could do moves, but it didn't matter whether they were technical moves or not. It just mattered, no pun intended, how much flair he could put into them.
No, when I think back to that training camp back in the farm for Vern Gagne, back in the AWA days, you had to be tough as nails to survive that training camp.
I'm not saying that Ric Flair isn't tougher than a $2 steak. And I'm not saying that he hasn't proven himself over and over again in Iron Man matches, in time limit draws, in bloody, brutal knockdown contests with some of the greatest wrestlers of the 1980s and 90s. I'm just saying to you that I don't qualify that as mixed martial arts. I qualify that as him being a great wrestler. And by wrestler, I mean pro wrestler.